possibly crashing through itself. Yet on the right knee that we've corrected, it really starts looking like it's being pushed down out of the way. You could add as many targets, maybe you wanted to use 3 if you wanted to get it really accurate, so that it stepped through 3 different stages of targets. That's the same with the new morph angle deformer, the skin morph in Max 7. You can add as many as you want at the given joint angles. And it also starts making it look like the leg is a little more alive. This leg looks quite fixed and stationary. It doesn't look like the muscle's doing anything. It just the joint's bending. So again, we could have come up with nice ways of fixing that, just the joint, but you really want to try and make sure that the muscles are actually flexing and bending a bit more like they might in a human body. We could have even done some work, like I said, across top of the thigh to stretch this down. You want to be careful of not going too far up driving the knee, because this area up here should be driven by the hip joint. And like I've said, I would avoid trying to use this system on something like the hip joint because of the 3 angles of rotation. You'll find that you'll fix it once and you'll say, hey, isn't that great? But then you'll try and fix it for the leg going backwards and sideways in a twisting state, and it won't work very well. So the next thing we're going to work on in this section is the bounce in the belly. So far, the way I've got this joint set up is I've got a bone. I happen to have parented to a point helper already as just an intermediary object. This one actually isn't even completely needed anymore. I generated another in the same place, but I orientation constrained this one between 2 spine joints, this joint and this joint. So its orientation is based on an average of these 2. And that's kind of what I want. I don't want it parented to one or the other. I need it somewhere in between those 2 all the time. So it gives you a halfway point. So you can see it doesn't move 100% with the bottom one. This means my stomach's somewhere in between these 2 joints, and what I did is I simply weighted to this bone. So you can see that I've weighted a section around the stomach to that bone. And like I said, the tops of these stretch bones and the legs are also parented off to this bone, so they've got a bit of that area as well. So now I've got this nice flexy stomach area. What we want to do is we want to try and add a bit of automation to this so that it flexes a little more automatically. First thing I'm going to do is I want to create a point helper, and I want to put that point helper and align it up to the nub bone. And then I'm going to link this back to the joint that's orientation constrained using the link tool so that it rotates with it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a spring controller. The spring controller is a position control, and it'll add a spring and a flex and a bounce to this node. I'm going to use the built-in tool position spring, and this basically just does the same as would have if you'd actually gone in and set the spring values up yourself. It also will jump it back to its parent, so I'm going to have to realign it up to the there we go. So now I've added it in here. Here's the spring. I'm just going to say open all, and then here are the dynamics rollouts for it. You can set a mass for it, and you can see it actually getting left behind now. As the character goes down, you can see it's no longer aligned to where it was. It's because the spring's taking effect. As it comes down, you can see it start to lag behind and bounce up and down.